There was a lot of conversation about whether or not Joe Biden was going to be able to stay in this for the long haul. Do you believe him when he says he will be up against Trump in November?
Well, one of the things you opened this segment 10 minutes ago with his rally in North Carolina, and one of the things he said, and he was very strong today, he said, I know how to do this job. And that's unequivocally true. He's had a great 3.5 years. That takes real skill. That doesn't happen by accident. But by any objective measure, as good as his first 3.5 years was, the debate last night, he was awful. And, I think it goes in a long string of presidents who in their, incumbents in their first debate doing badly. It goes back 50 years to Gerald Ford in 1976, and every one of them has done badly. But this was the worst of all of them. And what he did today in North Carolina, I think helps, but he needs to do more. I mean, he needs to do more to convince voters that he is the Democrat, the Joe Biden, who can do this job, which he's done for 3.5 years. So he has work to do.
Well, bring us inside the war room here for a minute, Jim, because everybody woke up this morning to a conversation about Gavin Newsom and Governor Whitmer of Michigan and any other Democrat who might be able to jump in this thing and win a contested convention. What's the reality of the situation? Joe Biden is the presumptive nominee. Will he leave Chicago as the nominee? Is the rest of this a waste of time?
My expectation is that he will, but let's go forward to right now. He had a debate. It was bad. It raised the questions that he's been needing to battle for the last 12 months. Mm-hmm. So what he needs to do is he needs to go on a 7 to 10 day run where he is out there and active and trying to change the image of last night's debate into something more that resembles what he did today in North Carolina. And that means every single day doing something, going on the Sunday talk shows, doing unscripted events, doing interviews, live interviews with news media, doing unscripted town halls, with questions. Mm-hmm. That's what he needs to do to quell those concerns.
And if those concerns aren't quelled, Jim, if he doesn't do that effectively, considering one of his primary messages and what he was able to articulate last night was that he feels Donald Trump poses a threat to American democracy, is Joe Biden potentially putting that on the line if he stays in this race?
Well, one of the things that shocked people, and it certainly shocked me, is I did not expect to see the performance that I saw last night. I've seen him on many occasions. He's generally very, very strong. He's always had gaffes. There's always been places where he runs on. So he needs to go out and, he needs to convince folks that he's the Joe Biden that was so effective with these 3.5 years. And what I would add is there are people, and you talked about what Claire McCaskill said last night. Don't dismiss those concerns as just the bedwetters. You have to go out there and show and win back the confidence of those voters. I believe he can do it, but that's his task for the next 7 to 10 days. Then we come to the Summer Olympics and the Republican convention. He needs to move now, to replace that image of the debate with something more current and better.
Well, you're kind to answer our questions and do some soul searching with us here as a Democrat, Jim, but shouldn't the party also be pointing to the other guy on the stage? Donald Trump told in excess of 30 lies last night, not one of them challenged by the moderators on CNN.
Yeah, so I'm not going to blame the moderators for that, okay? That's
Should
the job.
Joe Biden have done better live fact-checking Donald Trump?
I don't think you have to do live fact-checking, okay? But in the format of this debate, the way they agreed to it, it wasn't really a situation where the moderators, that was their responsibility. That is the way this debate was designed. And I don't think it was Joe Biden's job to fact-check Donald Trump. But he can point out, the lies are so obvious, they don't need a fact-check. And look, I think your underlying point was the only reason why Donald Trump had a good night last night was because Joe Biden had a bad night last night, but Donald Trump was close to awful as well. I mean, especially the last 60 minutes, it was unhinged and delusional and filled with so many lies that you could open a Pinocchio factory and still need to build another plant in China to take care of all the construction you'd need. So he only did well because Joe Biden did poorly. So yes, Donald Trump is vulnerable too, but Joe Biden has some work to do.